everyone has been talking about, and we've been saying it for years, Microsoft's been saying it for years, that we are deprecating legacy protocols, okay? And when we say legacy protocols, this is POP, IMAP, SMTP, ActiveSync, et cetera, et cetera. These all apply to typically Exchange Online, okay? And so Microsoft, as of like October 1st, started hitting the hammer to shut these things down and disable them in customers' tenants. But they said, but we're not going to do SMTP because we know there's a bunch of people that still use SMTP for authentication and SMTP relay use cases. So we can't touch that sacred cow. So guess what that means? What I'm seeing now in customers' tenants and our own tenant, right? We're just like you guys, other than we try to keep up on security for the most part. We are seeing all of these password spray and trying to access accounts. They've all moved away from POP and IMAP and those ActiveSync legacy protocols, and they're all just hitting SMTP because Microsoft left that door open. So it's kind of like saying, we have secured the building except the one back door over here, and it's not even a secret there's a back door to your building. And everyone just walks around and walks right into your house, okay? So what you want to do for this, the good news is tracking this down is pretty easy. And I should have had a more mature demo tenant here. I could show you our JourneyTEAM tenant, but you'll see this in your tenant, so this is not a big deal. Go over to your Azure AD and simply go to sign in logs. Okay,
Eric, you're going to need to share again. I grabbed
oh,
screen
you took it
share
over.
from you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Appreciate the reminder. Yep. All right. So go to Azure AD and go to your sign-in logs. Okay. And if you don't have a log analytics workspace, any one of you can do this today. If you do, there's some other things I'll show you about a log analytics workspace here. So, but go here and you're going to add a filter and you're going to pick the client app, and the client app we want is specifically SMTP. The good news is this door that's still open, SMTP, it's super easy to identify this traffic. That's a whole hour discussion that we'll save you. Reese can talk to you all day about that. So I simply want to know what SMTP authentication events are coming into my environment. And right now I have none, but you'll get a list here and you'll see if they're failing or status, and you're going to see all kinds of IP addresses and locations from bots and bad guys trying to get your password and log in via SMTP. Okay. If you have a production tenant that's been up for more than 4 months, you will see this in your tenant, is what I'll predict. Okay. So therefore, what do? Microsoft, the other thing I'm going to show you on this real quick is if you look in the Azure, the M365 Admin Center, go over here to settings and then look at org settings. Go down to modern, you'll have a whole big old list of org settings here. Go down to modern authentication. And this is where, number one, if this checkbox here is not enabled, immediately turn it on. This allows modern authentication to happen from the Outlook client. Outlook 2013 with a registry key or newer will work with that. So if that's not turned on, then something's wrong and you've got to turn that on ASAP, okay? Number two, this tenant, this is a brand new demo tenant that has been spun up very recently. These protocols are all still on. These are basic protocols. And so I'm going to start turning these off. If you have a use case for SMTP, that would still be on, right? As soon as I hit save here, what's happening is Microsoft is creating a Exchange Online policy that's blocking these protocols. Okay. And so therefore, that's the default policy that's applied to the entire organization. So if you look like this and you're like, yeah, I left this one turned on because I have those printers that have to relay mail. Well, there's a way to fix this. I'm a fan of, you have to do this through PowerShell, but it's really simple. Contact us if you need help. But you can go into PowerShell, you can create a new policy that just allows SMTP, and then you assign that policy to the printer's account. Done. Once that's in place, you come here and turn this off, because this is the let me get that. That's a weird UI. I don't know what's going on with that Outlook client. But you turn all these off and you end up with this, and then your tenant is now secure from legacy protocols. And you can then go to that specific user and give them a policy that allows SMTP. It works beautifully. Okay. And so when you do that, when you look back at your sign-in logs here and look at this, you will no longer see bad guys trying to log in with SMTP. Okay. And that's a good thing. And the reason why is because you only see sign-in events here in the Azure AD sign-in logs when Exchange gets that legacy protocol login request and it sends it to Azure, or its daddy, if you will, for authentication. And Azure gets it and says, oh, is that good or not? What we're doing here through this policy here is at the Exchange door, we are shutting you down. Therefore, the login requests never even get to the sign-in logs of Azure AD. Okay. And literally, when we turn this on in a customer's tenant, my failed sign-in attempts with bad guys trying to get passwords through legacy protocols immediately stop. Okay, in my Azure AD sign-in logs, it's like magic. And I know, and so now I can have a conditional access policy that says for this printer, you can sign in, but you have to be from this network location. And I've got a really good story there. Okay, for that printer that can't do modern auth. So legacy protocols, yay, Microsoft killed them. Not really. There's still a big hole in your tenant. You've got to look at SMTP. I promise you this is going on in your environment. Okay, so that's pretty much what I had. So let's take it back. Joni, you want to take our screen share back? We'll go to our Q&A slide. And what questions does anyone have? I know Reese and Jonah have been watching the chat, so that's wonderful. But if anyone wants to come off mute and bring up some questions or anything you want to talk about, that would be wonderful. And thank you, John, for posting the survey. I'd love to hear your feedback there. And time is yours.
Rolf, it looks like Connor asked where the setting is for modern auth.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so go to admin.microsoft.com. You're going to expand out. Here, let me share my screen and I'll show you. Okay. Okay. So, sure, I'll close this dialog. So, admin.microsoft.com. Make sure you hit show all. Okay. If you're not seeing all this stuff here, there's a little show all button. And then you're going to go underneath settings and org settings. Okay. And then you're going to go down to modern authentication. There's a bunch of settings in here. Settings, org settings, modern authentication. And then in here's where you'll see these settings here. Okay. Turn modern auth on. Definitely do that. And then this is where you can shut down those legacy protocols. Once again, if nothing's using SMTP, well, how do I know if it's using SMTP? You're going to see it right here, guaranteed. Okay, so if you go to this list and you're like, nothing's using SMTP, no brainer. You're going to flip back over and simply disable SMTP here, hit save, and you're done. But if you go to your tenant and you go to here in this filter, oh, make sure you go the last month as well. Okay, don't forget that. Last month of logs here. Once again, you only get a month's worth of data here. So if you need more than that, guess where we're going to go? Log analytics here. Okay. And from here, I can get much more than that. The easiest way, you have to know KQL, which is not hard, but there's some searches you can do here to find SMTP. But go to your workbook here and let's look at legacy protocols here. And if you're showing anything up here, right, I can go, this is 30 days here, but I could, when I run this, I can edit this report here and see the actual, let's actually show you that. So this is the query that it ran to show me legacy protocols, and you can modify this here. So this age in 30 days, hey, my log analytics is storing data for a year. Oh, well, it's okay, let's do 200 days here. Okay, and then you could run that query and you would get data for 200 days old. Okay.
A quick call out here, Eric, since you're in here. So log analytics subscription, and then you're able to filter this data.
Yep.
It's an interesting way Microsoft does this. It's similar to other things that Microsoft does, where you're looking for things that aren't very intuitive. So line 7, where it says case status error code equals 0, success failure. It's kind of an interesting thing of what you're looking for. Is that you're looking for successes. So a good username and password using a non-modern authentication client. So on line 9, it says client app used is not a modern auth. It's not browser, it's not mobile apps and desktop clients. So it's a little bit of a, like, you have to flip what you're looking for. You're looking for the things that are not modern auth, that are successes. And that will show you what is your gap that you're trying to close.
Yeah, so Jason, you were looking for successes. Yeah, so back here on the sign-in logs here, you were looking for successful authentications on SMTP. Okay, because those are valid credentials that got through. Okay, so when you look at that client app, and you're going to look for SMTP, so that's another quick little filter. Just add another filter here for status of success. These are your, let's go a month here. If you wanted the same thing, Reese could probably do this in his sleep, show you how to do this through KQL to show successful SMTP sign-ins for the last whatever length you've had your log analytics workspace, right? But this is where you are legitimately using SMTP. If you see locations here that scare you, you are compromised right now. Okay. And so if you see legitimate sign-ins here, like printers and things like that, you can create a CA policy to scope exactly where that sign-in comes from. Because once again, bad guy gets a printer's SMTP, they're going to relay mail. So you would go over here to security, Jason, to answer that. And you're going to go to conditional access, and you're going to go to named locations, and you're going to build an IP range that you represents your named location. My office location. I'll mark that as trusted, sure. And that's going to be 216.49.121.45/32. Whatever your public IP is, the public IP. Another tip, I've seen people put private IPs here. It does nothing. You have to put the public IP address as it leaves your network. Okay. Great. I've got a named location defined, and it's trusted. So now I'm going to go back over to my conditional access policy here. And when I go build a policy, this would be block legacy SMTP auth except from trusted location. And I'm going to target all users. Okay. And I'm going to take any cloud app, and the condition is location is going to be any location except my office location. And this is going to be a block. Okay. And I know what I'm doing, so I won't exclude myself. Create, you can leave it in reports only mode, or you've now just blocked SMTP login from every place on the planet except that IP address from your tenant. Okay.
And Microsoft and everyone else is waiting for printer manufacturers to update their connections to allow for modern authentication or application based instead of legacy SMTP. It's around the corner. We've already set it up with a few services and changed to a modern authentication, and then locked down SMTP completely in organizations successfully.
Yep. Okay, we are up on time. John's probably trying to jump in here saying, "Shut up, Eric."
You're good.
But
you're good. Our good friend Gordon Bjorman had a question. We can maybe tackle that offline.
Yeah, the short answer is universal print. That's correct. You don't need SMTP with universal print, but that's not scan to email. So a little different use case. Good question though, different use case. So yeah, the joy of printers. Cool. Thank you all for attending. Please fill out the survey. That'd help us out. We just try to be better and provide good value to you guys, and reach out if you have any questions or if we can help you. We love doing this stuff. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.